Hello, everybody. I'm back. Can you see my light flickering overhead? It just went dark for a second. I just paid half the electric bill. See how? I just paid half. Oh, jeez. Who's that guy? Yeah. Scared me. All right. So, welcome to the Thursday night Minutes with Milo show extravaganza. Well, it sounded good, right? It's not really an extravaganza. Every night could be an extravaganza for whatever that means. Whoa, see, this thing happens. It does it a lot. And when it's not doing it, I forget about it. And then when it's doing it, I think, I ain't got time to fix that thing right now. I'll do it later. And it clears up for a while, then it does it for a while. Clears up for a while, then it does it for a while. You know, it never makes a sound when it's at the mechanic's place. That ain't what I wanted to do. Get back over here. So, no, don't do that either. Nothing. I thought I started my Firefox. Firefoxy, baby. Okay, so tonight's show was something I thought about doing last week, but if you noticed, I did the Abernathy brothers last week, and so looked on my list, remembered what it was, so I'm doing this tonight. We're going to look at what body by Fisher means in the automotive industry. All right, just so I'll know and then the audience will know what we're talking about. What does that mean when somebody says in the automotive reference, what does body by Fisher mean? So I'll tell you what I know right off the top of my head is that a lot of the older GM, and I say older, a lot of the older 60, 70, maybe 80s. I had a 79 Firebird. I think it had the body by Fisher. Anyway, the little door seal. You open the door, look down, where the body comes in and it turns into the interior. The lower portion where the door sits, there's usually a metal door seal right there. And I say usually metal. That's what is stamped or imprinted with that body by Fisher logo, which is a wagon, a horse-drawn wagon. We'll look at that in a minute, what the logo is. And it's supposed to mean, in my mind, a higher quality, better fitting, more elaborate car body. And hence the name, body by Fisher. Roberto, yep, El Camino has them. And see, man, I don't know. It's almost like overused. I don't, and the reason I say that is, when things get started, 3 out of 10 things are special, and it gets a special emblem. And then as time goes on, it's like, we need more special things. So, 5 out of 10 things. Okay, 5 out of 10 things are special and get the logo. Then as it progresses more, then the next thing you know, it's 7 or 8 out of 10 things get the special logo. And they're not, it dilutes it. It's not that special anymore. So we'll look at what that means. And then in the automotive world, how did you become a body by Fisher? I won't say employee. It doesn't sound right to say person, but how did you get to be affiliated or involved in the body by Fisher? And I can tell you one thing is the body by Fisher logo means it's has something to do with design, pieces. Whatever that means. The car body design. When you have a body by Fisher, it's supposed to be something special. It's supposed to have accents or better things or whatever. So we'll look at that, and that's how I came about it. Me and my wife, we get the I want to say Hemmings, but is it Hemmings News? Our classic cars are insured by Hemmings. I think it is Hemmings. Anyway, she gets a magazine, and it talked about in this article about how people would become associated with the Body by Fisher line of car bodies. And I know I'm butchering this up because I don't know, the terminology to use. And so we'll look at it. That's what I'm going to look at. And it's kind of interesting, like things that not all things. Most of the things on the show interests me, and I hope it interests you. And if it does, like, subscribe to the channel. Come by on Thursdays at 9 and watch the show. I've got some other videos coming out. Robert's back. He's been on a hiatus, maybe, whatever you call that. Hadn't been here in a couple of weeks. Maybe Garthog will join us. He's a regular too. And I'd like to think that they enjoy the show. Maybe they're just nice fellas and they show up because they know nobody else will. I don't know, but I'll accept that. I'll go with that. I'm not proud. I'm desperate. I'm just desperate. Okay. All right. Fisher was mostly trim accessories, best he remembers. As I recall, like I said, I had a 79 Firebird. And it was a Hearst edition. Remember that? Had a 4-speed Hearst shifter in it. Had the weakest, pukiest, stupidest 301 Pontiac engine in it. I don't know why. I do know. It was, 79, the fuel economy, no horsepower, weak engines, had T-tops and stuff. But like I was saying before, the door jambs, the bottom, the door seals were metal. And as I recall, a lot of the ones, maybe all, that had the Body by Fisher logo were all like metal seals. And it for those people that are wondering, I thought seals were made of rubber. This is just a cover plate where, like the carpet and the body meet, it's that place where if you're kicking your shoes off and the snow doesn't get in the car, you look down and there's a metal plate right there. So anyway, let me get, I don't want a subscription. Why? Why? Oh, why? There it is. Okay, let's close that tab out. Let me get these things organized here a wee bit. All right. Get over here, do our window capture thing. Choose this one. Okay. Then we're going to take me. Whoa. I don't want to be completely gone. I want to be in the corner looking down on everybody. Yeah, kind of like that. All right. So once again, Wikipedia. You think it's GM only? Might be. I'm trying to think. Besides the Maverick, I had a F-150 pickup truck, things that weren't GM, and then my Datsuns, ain't none of that would ever be, Body by Fisher. I don't think. I mean, I wouldn't think so. I think it was an American automotive kind of deal. My granny had a Chrysler, but I never paid any attention to that thing. If, it was a Body by Fisher or not. All right, so I'm trying to get that centered up a little bit. Okay, so Fisher Body was an automotive coach builder founded by the Fisher brothers in 1908 in Detroit, Michigan. All right, so there's the logo. It's a Napoleon style, I want to say chariot. It's not a stupid chariot. A coach, a horse-drawn coach, and that was their logo. And I guess because they started this thing in 1908. In 1984, General Motors dissolved its Fisher Body division as part of its. All right, General Motors, GM, Robert, hitting the nail on the head right there. Extensive Northware restructuring. 8 parts making facilities from within the Fisher division were combined with the Guide division, which manufactured headlight plastic parts to form the Fisher Guide division. Other plants formerly operated by Fisher were reorganized to become the Chevrolet, Pontiac, GM Canada, and the Buick Oldsmobile Canada groups. The name and its iconic Body by Fisher logo were widely known as GM Motors vehicles, except the fiberglass Chevrolet Corvette, which got a Body by Chevrolet tag. Each displayed a Body by Fisher emblem on the door sill plates until Fisher Body's demise. So did every one of GM's cars get that? Then it wasn't very special at all, was it? Fisher Body's beginning traced back to a horse-drawn carriage shop in Norwalk, Ohio in the late 1800s. Lawrence P. Fisher and his wife Margaret had a large family of 11 children. 7 were sons who would become part of the Fisher Body Company in Detroit. Lawrence and Margaret were married in Sandusky, Ohio in 1876. That's nice, but don't care. In 1905 and 1904 and 1905, the 2 eldest brothers, Fred and Charles, came to Detroit where their uncle Albert had established Standard Wagon Works during the later part of the 1800s. So that's where the coach, horse-drawn coach, comes into play, 1880s. The brothers found work at the C.R. Wilson Company, a manufacturer of horse-drawn carriage bodies that was beginning to make bodies for automobile manufacturers. With financing from their uncle, on July 22, 1908, Fred and Charles Fisher established the Fisher Body Company. Their uncle soon wanted out, and the brothers obtained the needed funds from businessman Louis something, who became a shareholder and director. Soon Charles and Fred Fisher brought their 5 younger brothers into the business. So before the company, Fred Fisher had built the first closed body coupe, the 1905 Cadillac Oshala at the C.R. Wilson Company. This car was requested by Cadillac founder Henry Leland to determine the feasibility of a car body that was closed to the elements. It was built on the chassis of a 1905 Cadillac Model E. Starting in 1910, Fisher became the supplier of all closed bodies for Cadillac, Buick, Oakland, and Oldsmobile. So there you go. All right, so we kind of get an idea of what this Body by Fisher means. Let's see what it means. I'm talking about the show's going to be like in the 50s. Kind of takes place in the 50s and 60s. In 1916, the company became the Fisher Body Corporation. Capacity was 370,000 bodies per year, and its customers included Abbott, Buick, Cadillac, Chambers, Chandler, Chevrolet, Churchfield, wow, Elmore, EMF, Ford, Airsoft, Hudson, Kirk, Oldsmobile, Oakland, Packard, Pontiac, Regal, Studebaker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, here's something right now, in this day and time, you hear about the big 3 automakers. there was like 12 back in 1916. Could you imagine, what kind of cars you could find if there were still like 12 auto manufacturers? I mean, not just, making 500 cars a year, auto type manufacturers. I'm talking about, standard production, automotive kind of manufacturers. That'd be crazy, wouldn't it? I mean, there's 4 or 5 dealers. Well, I guess if you take into account maybe there is, Hondas, Mitsubishis, Hyundais, GM, Ford, Dodge, Chrysler, whatever you want to call it. So maybe, we are getting up in there. Several, not nearly that many. Let's see. Get down in here. In a 1919 deal put together by President William C. Durant, General Motors bought 60% of the company, Body by Fisher Company. And then Fisher Company purchased Fleetwood Metal Body in 1925, and in 1926 was integrated entirely in an in-house coach building division of General Motors. So that's basically their tie with General Motors started in Hey, there's Garthok. Yeah, we've been chit-chatting here. You've been snoozing. Just America has a bunch of automakers back in, I guess, the 1800s, especially in the 30s. In the day. Okay, especially in 30s. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, my wife's been wanting to watch, and I'd seen it before. I think it's not the Hudson. What was that one? Was it in the, I don't think it's in there. Nope. Not Studebaker. They made a movie of a guy that is in the, not really in the early days, but in the days when Ford, Chevrolet, Pontiac, or Chrysler, Dodge, all those were kind of the big car makers. It was a guy that broke out from them and came up with his own designs. And the best I can remember, maybe it was the Hudson. He was an independent guy, had all these, and he made, I don't know, maybe 5,000 cars. But the thing I remember, one of them was he put headlights on the fenders, and the fenders were, the headlights, maybe it wasn't on the fenders, but the headlights were keyed to the tires. And as you turned, the headlights followed them. Tucker. Thank you. Thank you very much, there, Roberto. Tucker. Yeah, she wants to watch that Tucker movie, and I saw it. It's got Jeff Bridges, I think, in it, way back when it first came out. It was very interesting, and the guys were pretty much the guys. The main auto manufacturers, I think, were threatened by him because they axed it pretty quick. I mean, they did him wrong. Yeah, Tucker, it was named after, his automobile line was named after him. All right, so let's see. August 1944, the Fisher brothers resigned from General Motors to devote their time to other interests, including the Fisher Building on West Grand Boulevard in Detroit. The brothers also mounted a bid to take over Hudson Motors, but their tender offer fell short. All right, in 1972, the last of the Fisher brothers died. The 7 brothers donated millions of dollars to schools, churches, and other charitable causes, and were active in directing those endeavors. Okay, so they're into the Body by Fisher means just that. The company, I didn't realize it was like all GM cars. I thought they were special cars making the bodies. So here's where this finally my show comes in. All right. How did you become a designer for Fisher, the Fisher Company, the Body by Fishers? So they started this, get rid of that. Fisher Body, get rid of that. The Fisher Body Craftsman Guild was an organization that was started to help find and bring up new and young, I guess not necessarily, new doesn't necessarily mean young, but in this instance, it did, to discover and bring up young talent that was interested in becoming automotive, designers. And they called it the Fisher Body Craftsman Guild. Yep, Fisher Body Craftsman Guild is what they set it up as. And I found this story, my wife was reading it to me, and I found it really interesting how they did this. And it turned out to be like a grand thing that took place, in the 50s, I think, and 60s. I think mainly in the 60s. No, maybe earlier. That's why I have the show, so we can all learn these things. All right. So that was the 1930s logo right here. The coach, got the F in it, got the wagon wheels, the place up here where the driver would normally sit. All right. So the I can't even say that. I want to say Neapolitan. Napoleonic coach that had served as Fisher Body's logo since 1922 became the cornerstone for the Fisher Body Craftsman's Guild. From 1930 to 1968, that was established by the successful Detroit automotive industry as a philanthropic project during the Great Depression. Okay? The competition invited boys and teenagers. So not all boys are teenagers. Mark that down. Let's make a distinction. Boys and teenagers aged from 11 to 20 from across the country to build miniature model Napoleonic coaches in 1/8 scale from plans provided by the Guild. In addition, from 1937 to 1968, winners from that competition and other contestants were asked to design and submit models, not just designs, but models of their futuristic dream car in 1/12 scale. Thousands of dollars in scholarships were awarded to 3 winners. In 1934, the top prize was $5,000 college scholarship, a very valuable prize at the time. So, Body by Fisher actively seek out artistic talent in young boys and teenagers in order to get them to find talent, to find people that could design. And then, remember, the next one was, the first one was by a plan, to make the wagon, the coach, by a plan that was sent to them, blueprints, whatever you want to call it, instructions of the coach. Then whoever, did well in that or won that, then they asked them to do their own design and to build a model from that design to be in the competition. So, they were looking for creative types that really, I guess, wanted to be in the automotive industry. So, and they did this from 1937 up to 1968. So from the winners of the competition on the coach and other contestants, doesn't say what that means, were asked to design and submit models of their futuristic dream car in 1/12 scale. So here's a guy trying to win a little bit of favor with the lady friend from showing the coach he designed or built. So this was an ad that took place maybe, I don't know, Fisher Body Craftsman's Guild ad from 1931. So down in here you see it, 1931. Check out the tie and the sweater, you know. Thousands of boys all over America are completing miniature model Napoleonic coaches in the first year's activity of the Fisher Body Craftsman Guild. These models they will shortly submit in a nationwide competition for 4 university scholarships of 4 years each, 98 trips to Detroit, and 882 other valuable awards. The Fisher Body Corporation sponsored this inspiring movement, believing that this exercise in creative talent, this quickening of the hand of youth, are essential steps toward the development of high ideals that only by training in the coming generations can fine craftsmanship be perpetuated and superior coachcraft be assured. Best auto designs in American history in the 1930s. Garthog's dudes have been building models for years. They do have a purpose, right? So in this article that my wife read, they sent out the plans for this. And then what happened after they sent out the plans, companies, yeah, that's what you tell the wife. Yeah, you showed us some of your models before. I think you sent us some pictures of models on a previous show some months back. I don't know how long it was. Pretty cool, as I recall. So after the competition was announced and they started doing this, there was companies that came out with the materials you would need in a kit, not the wheels, not the windows, not that kind of stuff, but kind of like a soapbox derby kit. They would give you the rough, wood, the rough cutout for the wheels and that kind of stuff, and then you had to finish it. So by the 1920s, most of the major auto manufacturers had established design studios employing hundreds of draftsmen, artists, modelers, craftsmen, and engineers. The General Motors Fisher Body Youth Contest soon became a highly recognized design educational program for boys, as well as a successful public relations and advertising program that generated huge public exposure and corporate goodwill. Fisher Youth Contests were advertised in dozens of publications and magazines throughout the United States and Canada, inviting millions of teenagers to take part in the coach competition, and millions did. So in 1947, these kids were the winners. Chuck Jordan, first senior award. James Marlowe, first junior award. Second junior award, and second senior award. Those dudes in second place didn't get their names in there. I guess there wasn't even a participation trophy that they got. They didn't even get their stupid names in there. By the 50s, many young men understood that winning the competition could lead to a career opportunity with a major auto design studio. So just because you entered the the Body by Fisher contest and you did well didn't mean that you got hired exclusively by the Fisher Body Company. Because you entered it and you did well in it, hopefully did well in it, you might get a job with any of the auto manufacturers, design team. So it wasn't just that you could say, oh, well, I didn't win, so maybe, you know, I could get a job somewhere else. It was like I entered it and I did well, and everybody wanted to hire you. So in the late 50s, the Fisher Body Division employed over 200 Guild graduates working in their engineering department at GM, styling 35%. Let's see, 35% of the stylists were Guild graduates. Ford Motor Company, Chrysler Corporation, independent design studios, and contract body builders like Bud Murray in Detroit also employed Guild graduates. With World War II in the rearview mirror and the American auto industry introducing new models at a record pace in the 1950s and 60s, competition was fierce, and the industry was looking to hire some of those 32,800 Guild entries that earned their Design Makers Award. Let's see if I can open this in a new image. Can we zoom in on that, my friends? Why didn't they make that bigger? All right, so let's see. Plastic Wood helped him win $5,000 coach modeling contest. That's interesting. Raymond Dewar says, only Plastic Wood meets the high standards set by the master craftsman. I wish I could read that whole ad. It's an ad so you can mail in this to get a book. I don't know if it's to teach you how to do it. When was that? Shit, I can't even read the date. Oh, whoa, dude. Settle down now. Settle down now. We're getting back into it. Oh, one too far. There we go. All right. So in 1965, the success of the Guild program in the U.S. led GM to establish similar programs in their overseas operations that included the United Kingdom, West Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. The Opel Model Bar Guild in West Germany was the most successful and lasted from 1965 to 1979 as a co-educational program. There's another ad. Design and build a car of the future and win yourself a future. So this was the Fisher Body Craftsman's Guild ad with contest coupon. Contest coupon. That's still too small to see. Why don't they make them so you can get them bigger? In 1968 was the final year of the competition in the U.S. GM's corporate executives concluded the Guild's benefits may not have exceeded the cost of the program, or the model making contest just became outdated. Regardless, the automotive industry and the Fisher Body Craftsman Guild program gave many teenagers a direction in finding their way to a vacation or an industrial design career. We will never know just how many inspiring students and young dreamers became automotive and industrial designers, artists, craftsmen, or engineers after filling out the competition coupon in the magazine. So in the article, they talked about the winners being flown to, I guess, Detroit, where they were fitted for suits, custom tailored suits. And then they were paraded around at all these places, car manufacturers took tours of the facilities, did, the press did stories on them. And they got to eat at the banquet hall with all these people during a big ceremony. And it was a big, big, big to-do to be one of the winners. I mean, they treated you like, almost according to that book, like royalty, coming in there, and they had people waiting on them. They had their own hotel rooms. They gave them, a suit, and they fed them, and they showed them around and paraded them around and all that kind of stuff. So it was a big, big deal to get that. And it was the, Body by Fisher Craftsman Guild that made all that possible. Let's see. Let me look up something. Quit it. Videos, YouTube, Motor Cities. There's a book out there that you can buy that, what's this? That tells you the story. During the first quarter of the 20th century, automotive stressed function and performance. So right there's a picture of the carriage model was submitted by Fisher Body Craftsman's Guild contest in 1932. Matusik? General Motors, William Durant saw the opportunity to market style and design to attract buyers from Ford's enormous Model T. After acquiring the majority holding of Fisher Body Company in 1919, General Motors turned the company into a main coach building facility in 1926. GM's biggest obstacle was the lack of designers and stylists available to hire. Starting in the 1930s, the Fisher Body Company, in conjunction with General Motors, ran a series of competitions in design and styling for teenage students. In the early years of the competition, contestants ordered a set of model plans to build the carriage, the signature logo of the company. Original model concept cars later replaced the standard carriage in the competition, which ran until 1968. So this was Freemasonry. Freemasonry. So there's one of the models. I would love to know, even though, like I said before, there was companies out there that made these kits, I was just wondering on how much they had to put into it. Obviously, this part of it didn't really require design because they gave you the plans, the specifics on how to build the carriage. So you didn't get to put your own flair on it unless it was coloring, like this one. So was that just a contest to see who could, was the better hands-on craftsman instead of the best designer? You look at the rake. Maybe it's just the angle that it's taken. One of the earliest surviving Napoleonic carriages from the Guild competition is in the collection of the Detroit Historical Society. This model was submitted for competition in July 2nd, 1932 by Edward Matusik of Royal Oak. What makes this carriage even more unique is that it was accompanied by the original plans and instructions, photographs, and actual award certificate. Edward Matusik did not win the competition, although he did work for General Motors for a time in New York assembly plant. Matusik was able to benefit from his experience with the Guild when he left his factory job to pursue his dream to be a model toy maker. He started a model making company named General Models, which he affectionately and jokingly referred to as GM. He claimed to be one of the first creators of model cars in the late 1940s. Around the same time, he fabricated parts for the ill-fated prototype Tucker 48, also known as the Tin Goose, and collaborated on the creation of the Etch-a-Sketch for the Ohio Art Company. Etch-a-Sketch should be outlawed. I just don't, that's it, to me, ow man, something in my thumb. To me, it's more of a puzzle than an art tool because it's kind of a mind problem. How do you draw things and be careful on where you cross the line? Because a lot of times you draw something and you get out here and you get out to the one side and that's the end of the picture. So now you got to take that silly cursor thing back down the exact same line that you came out on, because if you can't, it's just sometimes it dead ends out there and you got to back up to create the next line. And it's a mind killer to think, well, how am I going to draw this without, crossing over something else I've already done and making it look stupid. I hate Etch-a-Sketches. The best part about the Etch-a-Sketch is shaking it and make that sand stuff roll around in there and get rid of everything that's on there. Man, you can't even draw a circle with those stupid things. It's just, oh, it's crazy. Drive me insane. Drive me insane. So Musek remained a model maker until his death in 1984, working commissions for hundreds of companies. While his childhood ambitions of a General Motors scholarship didn't pan out, he was able to leave his mark on history at his own GM company. Edward Musek's Fisher Body Craftsman's Guild carriage and associated documentation were donated to the Detroit Historical Society in 2008. There he is with the model. It looks like he made airplanes. He made pretty much a lot of things. Chevrolet. Huh. That's pretty cool. Ah, that's what we just looked at. All those. So it doesn't talk much about, like Robert had talked about, making clay models. But in the description it said that they did make design and make their own models of futuristic cars they wanted to build. So they had to be able to work in clay or wood or plastic wood or whatever it was. There's that display I bet you they were talking about. Maybe not. Check out this one down in here. What this is? Hemmings. Hemmings.com. National Museum of Transportation unveils Fisher Body Craftsman's Guild exhibit, RM Sotheby's expanding European team. The National Museum of Transportation announces a new exhibit highlighting the Fisher Body Craftsman's Guild, a competition in which entrants build model coaches or concept cars to be judged by GM designers and engineers. The contest took place from 1930 to the late 60s, and the winners were often given awards such as scholarships to continue to pursue the field of automotive design. It's located in St. Louis. Well, there's that. Ta-da's. Check that thing out. Let's see what this site has to say. Fisher Body Craftsman's Guild models to make a rare appearance. A rare chance to view the work of participants in the historic Fisher Body Craftsman's Guild model making program is coming up in Salt Lake City, Utah. A number of advanced design scale models made for the national competition, which was sponsored by General Motors from 1930 to 1968, will be on display at the GSL 1025 International Scale Vehicle Championship and Convention. Man, they got a convention for everything. If they've got one for the International Scale Vehicle Championship, they've got it for just about everything you ever thought you'd want to be. Well, that's a cool looking car. George Prentice model, 1965. 1955 future GM designer George Anderson made this model for a luxury coupe. Wow. That's pretty cool. That was pretty cool. So, if you're interested, this is how, one of the ways. I'm sure there was other ways. Not every kid could, I think there was an entrance fee to join, to get into the competition. You had, if you were going to do, competitive, then you had to be able to buy the material, the kit, whatever you want to call it, to make the coach. And then if you won that, you had to make, your own design, your own car, make the model, provide all that, mail it in, and do all that kind of stuff. If you won, of course, they took care of the transportation and the food and all that kind of stuff from being the winner. But, in the Depression, and, unless you had the backing of, parents, or, could prove by showing them drawings or something like that, support from other financial sources, I don't know how you would ever potentially, make that work out. But apparently a lot of them did, because it is a thing to be a member of the guild and to work towards it and all that kind of stuff. So Body by Fisher started out working at stagecoaches, and then worked into, actually, instead of open cabins, enclosed cabins was the big thing. Turned that into some car manufacturing, car body manufacturing, and then, realizing we don't have enough designers in this kind of industry, started this competition, that apparently worked out really well. Now it's defunct, so, if you want to Body by Fisher, you got to buy old cars. Yeah, I used to appreciate ingenuity, right? They, that's when back in the 20s and 30s was when a lot of company CEOs and presidents and sole proprietorships were probably the worst business people there were. And the reason I say that they were the worst business person is because they built stuff to last, not to break down. So if you bought one, it could last years or decades. And so they didn't have a lot of recurring customers for new items, unless they were just so overwhelmed by some kind of new doodad fangle thing on the new one that they would buy it just because they wanted that, But you think about it, nowadays everything's throwaway, and it's the best business decision that manufacturers and designers have ever made, because it guarantees repeat customers. If you say, oh, I bought the car, I would buy another X car, but my first X car lasted me 70 years, and I can't buy a second one because I'm not going to live another 70 years. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, back in the old days when things were made to last, that was probably the worst business decision those people were making. I want to make the best anvil, I want it to last forever. Why would I want to do that? The best anvil maker, makes them out of brittle metal, so after a few years of pounding on them with a heavy hammer, they crack and you have to get another one. Not something that lasts, forever and ever, and you can dig it up the bottom of the ocean and grind it down and start using it. So, yeah, people used to appreciate ingenuity. That's why you won't see a hot rod Prius in 50 years, unless somebody, the best Tesla I saw was the body on the top of like a funny car chassis or something. It was crazy. Everything runs through my radio. What you talking about, Willis? Runs through my radio. Well, if you made it this far on the show, I appreciate it. Robert, glad to see you back. Garthog, thanks for coming. And as always, I'm promising to put out videos. I've got some. I just don't know. Everything runs through my radio, my Jeep. If the radio goes out, you mean like your radio is like maybe like the computer or something? I know Jessica that used to work with us, she had like it was a Dodge, one of those four-door coupes, that if the radio fuse blew, the car wouldn't start. Oh, so the radio, the computer, and all that stuff, one big screen does it all. That's kind of like my mom's Ford Escape. It's got that big screen, audio, navigation, car settings, all that stuff's in a big screen, and I guess it's all employed, like you're talking about, all employed through the computer. So yeah, single point of failure in a lot of these new cars. It's what stinks. But if you like the show and you sit around and you wait for the videos, I've got them coming out. I just don't know if I want to put them out one at a time or put them out as a group, because I've kind of jumped around between the Roadster, the truck, the LS motor that I'm trying to get together, those kind of things. So I might just start putting a couple of those out just to see how they do. But anyway, like, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, however you want to turn them. Let me know what you want to talk about. Call in, get in on the show. It'll be fun. We'll make fun of each other. All right. I appreciate you stopping by. And let's see, where's my stop streaming button? There it is. Check back next week. Keep checking back. Turn the little bell on so that if I do pump out one of these videos, you'll be sure to know about it. All right. Later, Gator. After a while.